Right.
There you go.
All right, we're good.
Good morning, this is a call to order for the Troy Community Land Bank. Today is January 24th, 2025. Start with a roll call. Bob Donnelly, or Bob Conley, I'm sorry. Brian Sano. Here. Tamara DiMartino.
Here.
Andrew Cooper.
Here.
Suzanne Spellin.
Here.
James Mager. Here. We also have Executive Director Brad Lewis, Project Manager Paul Donnelly. Absent is Brian Barker, we believe, who's on his way.
Yeah, he said he's walking now.
Seamus Donnelly, who is running late, and Monica Kuzieski, who will be absent. We also have Lee Leibowitz from Upstate Insurance Agency and
Chris Mofford.
Chris Walford from
Nope.
from
Upstate. No, Upstate Agency both.
both.
Yes.
Okay.
It used to be 10.
Okay. We will start with a review of the meeting minutes.
Yep, and there are
We're
none
not-
for
we don't.
special meetings. We cleared those up a couple
Okay.
board meetings ago.
So then that just opens it up for you two. For an
Update.
update.
So Brian's not here. Is someone doing minutes for this meeting?
Brian is gonna be here in
Oh,
very shortly.
Okay, I know he's coming. I didn't know.
Yep, yep.
Okay,
We're live streamed, so he can
Yeah,
always
he can-
catch back
yeah.
up.
sure.
So we can go ahead and start with Upstate's
I think
presentation.
so, yeah.
Okay.
You want the floor?
I have the floor. I appreciate it. Thank you. Just made some notes so I can keep myself on track here. I just wanted to thank everyone for the opportunity for us to talk with you today. I have a little history with the land bank, so I absolutely appreciate the work that you do. Actually, back in, I think we're going 2017, when I worked with Ten Eyck, which is the current broker, talked with the board, and I was the one who brought it over to Ten Eyck and was working with the land bank. I left Ten Eyck for an opportunity. The land bank stayed with Ten Eyck because I could not continue to represent him. So I really thank you for the chance to at least re-engage with you and give you the opportunity to make a decision down the road. So we responded to the RFP. Those are the glossy versions of any respondent. This is who we are. This is what we do. And now that we have the opportunity at the presentation, I realize it comes down to why me, why Upstate Agency. And so that's really what I kind of want to focus on here in my 15 minutes. And just wanted to, so why us? That is both me as an individual over, I'll just say, multiple decades in the business, and Upstate Agency with a long history. We have worked with both nonprofits as a focus industry, as well as organizations that are heavy in real estate. So combining that experience, we have seen a lot of things. We have provided a lot of solutions. We have a long history of just working through the challenges that are seen throughout the industry. Why me individually? I've always taken a very proactive stance in working with clients, and that is to get ahead of things, not only to educate you and explain why things are happening so that you can make an educated decision on things, but also really getting ahead as quickly as we can on the what ifs. I want to have the what if conversation, not the, oh, by the way. So if a project is coming up, if something else is down the pike, let's have the what if, how do we deal with this? What's the best solution? The oh, by the way, I don't think anybody can disagree in that anytime you get that, it's like, okay, this is just taking it from about a 1 to about a 10 on what we can do here. So we want to get out in front. We want to have regular contact and to just, I don't think that you need a daily level of interaction, But we can figure out whether it's weekly, quarterly, semi, whatever works best for you. We're able to respond. So Lee is a Troy resident as well. And if you need someone here very quickly, she can do that. I live in Guilderland, so I'm 20 minutes away as well. You have local representation with us. We're also backed, we're a part of the Arrow Bank financial institution. So should a situation come up where you wanted to talk to a lender or get an opinion on that, that's kind of outside of our realm, we can put you in touch with people that can address that situation as well. So I think in its totality, we can bring a lot to the relationship. Through our experience, both as the agency and me as an agent, over the years, we've developed pretty strong relationships with carriers. I'll get into some of the challenges of the limited amount of carriers that Land Bank really is going to be able to work with. Not on your part, but on the carrier part. But those carriers that we do have the strong relationships with, those trusts with the underwriters have developed over time. So when we have the conversations, it's not just talking with them and we're in a bullpen and we're talking with the next person up. It is, we've both gone through the trenches before. So there's a little bit of trust, more than a little bit, there's a lot of trust. So when I talk with a carrier and I'm presenting the best that I can on the Land Bank, it is taken for what it is, in that they're going to listen. And I truly believe they're going to get the best options that they can, the best pricing that they can. So once again, that has all developed over decades of interactions, and we have that in our stable, so to speak. We are doing more and more recently in the Troy area. And I say that where we have Lee here, we have myself here in the past probably 3 or 4 years. And as an example, I have their permission, so I can say that very recently we were chosen by Trip to be their broker going forward. Somewhat of a similar fact pattern, nonprofit, very heavy in real estate, and they made the decision really based on the service that we're providing to them. So that's a reference, if you will, but that's our commitment to this area as well. I just want to get into a couple of the challenges and solutions that I can bring to the table that you guys are seeing. One, limited amount of carriers, very heavy in real estate. So not every carrier wants to work with that. To be frank, the real estate that you're working with, you're getting it at the part where its best days are behind it, but you're going to make it better. Where you're having it right now is a little bit dilapidated. There's a reason that you're involved. So there's not a lot of carriers that are comfortable with the risk that's associated with that, some vacancies or some risk management issues that need to be brought up. So that limits the playing field of where we can go. It also limits there's no breakout star or program that we're going to be able to go to. So in insurance, we really have 3 pillars that we work with: cost, coverage, service. The cost and the coverage, as you can imagine, are pretty closely tied together. We will maximize the best that we can, but that field, no matter whether you're with us or Tenite Group or any other broker, there's only so much that we can do. We will make the best that we can on that end. On the service end, that's where we feel that we're going to make a difference. Once again, working with you, any of you, as closely as possible, answering questions, educating you why this is happening so that you can make changes or decisions that you feel comfortable with. Proactive service, that's, once again, these are my notes. Proactive service, we're here for you. I can't overemphasize that. I don't know what you've been receiving in the last few years. So I can't say how it compares. I would just say what we do going forward. Once again, the properties that you have in your portfolio, vacant, somewhat need some TLC. So what we do is we work with you to not only put in place the coverage that works for you, but we're also looking at the resources and the information to improve the risk of it. Is fencing better? Is there something else that we can do that doesn't cost a lot that will just make it more secure? How do we, if you have a project going on, how do we address the coverages to properly navigate the contractors and looking at the contracts? Are they transferring the risk away from you over to themselves because they're doing the work? Things of that nature is what we're always looking for. That doesn't cost you anything, but that's what we're doing on the behind the scenes to make everything we're trying to transfer everything away from you we possibly can. Yeah, especially in those situations. The last challenge, once again, I will have as much impact as we possibly can, but you have budget constraints. So we will be diligent in finding the best amount of coverage that you're willing to go with the best price. We can do a market analysis for you. Typically what we do is we'll look every 3 years. And I say that because if you go every single year and go out to the marketplace and the underwriters see it, after a couple of tries and they don't get it, they don't give the best terms and conditions that they can. So if you do it every 3 years, knowing that we're always looking at the market, if a company is that you're with is having some difficulties, we're looking to transition it. But if you go every 3 years, then what happens is the underwriters get a little hungrier and they're more willing to put their best foot forward. And we want to maximize that. And so we will go any route that the land bank wants to, but in my experience, if we do it periodically, you get better results long term. So that's the approach that we would have. Once again, just wanted to thank you guys for allowing me to have this time. Know that we're here to support you in every phase of things. We're accessible. We're available. And at this point, I just want to say I know the deputy mayor's not here, but are there any questions that I can help clarify?
Yeah, I have one question. When you were at Tenite Group, did you guys have Trip? Was Trip
No,
under your umbrella?
we
No?
actually, I'm in the process right now of converting Trip. We had a couple of meetings at the end of last year, and then right at the beginning of January, they decided to go with us. So we're
they're not-
transitioning over.
They're not transitioning from Tenite.
No,
Okay.
no, they were with another broker actually out of Syracuse.
Okay.
Yeah. I will say that in one thing that I do know with Tenant, and it's not a bad thing at all, but one of the main coverages that you have is a property policy with Lee and Mason, and that's your revolving property. So Lee and Mason is a company that specializes in this kind of properties. When I was with Tenite, I had to talk with Lee and Mason to have them continue on the coverage. To this day, I believe, I don't know, and you can ask them, I believe the land bank is the only account that Tenike has with Lee and Mason. So there's not that strong relationship of things. I mentioned that we're part of Aerobank. Aerobank, as you can imagine, does a lot with real estate. There are times where there's forced place coverage that needs to be taken care of. Long story short, we have a tremendous amount, probably more than we should, but a tremendous amount of activity with Lee and Mason. So we have a very strong relationship with them.
Chris, just to clarify for anybody that might not have followed, Aerobank is the former Saratoga National Bank.
Glens Falls is starting.
Yes. Not to digress too much. Yes, it's Glens Falls National Bank, Saratoga National Bank. It's always all been one. We just kind of went through a name change. I would say above Saratoga, there's a lot of anxiety with it. Just I grew up with one bank, and now you're changing things. Down here in the capital region, I think it's been well received, but essentially this is what we have. We're about a $4 billion bank, community bank, that has branches from Albany up to Plattsburgh. So once again, a lot of real estate focus, and then tying it back into Lee and Mason. Every once in a while, we do have to make some changes and put some forced place coverage in. Our agency handles all of that, so we have a lot of volume with Lee and Mason.
Where's Lee and Mason out of?
They're out in Northville. Yeah, right off the Sacandaga River.
And is that the only carrier you have that deals with properties in our condition?
That
Not the
is,
only, but that's your most competitive.
that is certainly the most competitive, and that's really what they're designed for. If there was ever an issue with them, we could put it with others. I just don't know what kind of pricing difference we would look at. So right now, it's the best pricing.
So for instance, because I do business with Saratoga National on some of my property.
Okay.
One of my properties is in this magical flood zone down in South Troy that's, 4 blocks off the river, right?
Mhm.
I defer to the bank to just get the coverage. The flood coverage that you guys get through whomever is far less than anything I can get on the open market.
Premium wise or
What's that?
premium or coverage wise?
Both.
Okay.
Both. Is that the type of, I know this is, I don't even know if it's your
Yep.
wheelhouse, but
Yep.
that's the type of relationship you speak of that you guys have with Lee Mason as far as this, the bank and
Well,
in
yeah.
upstate.
Yes, so Lee and Mason handles the property coverage for the buildings. When it comes to the flood zone, the federal government requires banks to have flood coverage if they're giving a mortgage to anyone in a high hazard flood zone, an A flood zone. So what happens in those situations, they will, if the mortgage person does not have another existing relationship with a insurance broker, they get us involved. So when it comes to flood insurance, that is backed by the NFIP, the National Flood Insurance Plan. And so the rates and the coverage is exactly the same no matter what insurance company facilitates it. We work typically with Selective. We also have the Hartford. Once again, it's just the insurance company administrating the program. So
Different.
yeah,
Different-
there's no
different, okay,
advantage.
okay.
The pricing is what it is.
Okay.
The only thing I would just add is that I have a number of nonprofit clients that I am the servicing account manager for. And they didn't maybe set out knowing that when they're thinking about a new idea, or they might move in a particular direction and they're discussing it, that they should also call me to weigh in on it. But now I've got them, after several years, in the habit of doing that. So if I have, for example, an arts colony in Ulster County that currently only serves adults, but they're thinking about ways that they can also serve children in the community. That might change their exposure, and they might need to make a change to their insurance plan, and it may be viable, or it may be like really not viable because it's so much money to do, that kind of thing. So even if you're not in the habit of calling your broker when you're contemplating changes or moves or directions that you might turn in, that's what I would invite you to do. That's what I would hope you would do, that we would have more of a consultative relationship with your organization. So even though we're not maybe sitting on the board, we're a part of your resources that people, for ideas and thoughts and opinions on anything that you might be undertaking.
I have a question. So like when you're covering a derelict building and then we go and we put a roof on it, we're going to call you, that's going to change the pricing because now we have a roof, or no? When we make
So
things better.
I wanted to kind of explain in using different words what Chris was talking about in terms of helping you manage your contractors and shifting the risk away from your organization. So everybody knows, right? When you think about your personal auto insurance, like if you have an 18-year-old son driving, your insurance rates are going to go up. They're an inexperienced driver. Or if you have 1 or 2 accidents and claims, your rates are going to go up. It's also true for a nonprofit organization. The more claims you put in, the more risk there is to your actual insurance program and its cost increasing. And after a catastrophic loss, an organization like yours could be hit with really high premiums for like 5 years, until you demonstrate to the insurer, right, that you're operating in a safe manner. So whenever you hire a contractor, and roofing is difficult, it's done at heights, the likelihood of an injury is much higher than there is, say, somebody, working on plumbing underneath the sink. Very important, the contracts that you use with the roofing company, very important what insurance they carry. Insurance contracts, as you know, they're like really difficult to read. I was the office manager at a roofing company during the early part of the pandemic. I kind of stepped away from insurance to help one of my clients directly. And they would often subcontract out their roofing to smaller crews whose insurance policies might have had a clause limiting their coverage to, say, $25,000 for a roof. So the policy might have had $1 million of liability on the first page, but like hidden in all the language and the verbiage was like roofing sublimit 25,000. So what that means is if one of those subcontractor employees was hurt, that company would only then pay out 25,000, and then my company that I was the office manager for would really pick up the rest of the $1 million that maybe somebody is due because their husband, who's a provider, fell off the roof. And
Are you offering to review contractors'
Absolutely, yeah.
insurance?
That's what we do. Yeah.
But just getting back to your specific question, when you improve a roof, we won't necessarily have a rate change that instant, but at renewal, we might be able to negotiate just a slightly better rate on that.
Okay, so
it could help.
let me ask a question. So when an improvement is made to a structure, whether it be a roof or a wall or whatever the case might be, does it behoove us to inform you guys so that maybe we could obtain a lower rate once the policy is under renewal?
Well, certainly. For the renewal of any policy, we would 90 days out, 180 days out, whatever. We'll sit with you and we'll review a lot of this information regardless. So have there been improvements? And yes, no, here, this is much better. And that's what we'll take that updated, most current information to our underwriters, and then gives things like that give us more leverage to have those conversations with the underwriter saying, okay, this is a much better property than it was before. Let's reflect that in the cost. And,
I think what he's asking, because I've done this with my
Okay.
career, now we do have to wrap up because the close outside, is I've obtained properties like we own, okay, from the city, myself. My carrier, my broker carrier insures them. Let's say it didn't have a roof on it, or the south wall was coming down. They've got me coverage for temporary coverage, 6-month policy, just in the interim, right? With the advice to repair the south wall, put a roof on it, weather tight it, and then come back, whether I do it in 2 weeks or in 6 months.
Mhm.
And then they bring that property back to the carrier to get me a better premium.
not only
correct?
better premium, but probably
That's what
better.
I'm thinking, yeah.
So what
That,
happens
that's
is,
a premium coverage, the whole.
Well, better
okay,
coverage or
yeah.
lower premium,
Yeah.
whatever the benefit to the land
Is
bank
that
might be.
something you can do for us?
yes,
We just have to advise you, listen, we're ready.
give us the ammunition.
Yeah.
To do that. So what happens is you get a property that's really, needs improvement.
Yeah.
A company, insurance company is going to put what's called a basic form. That, hey, these 7 perils are the only things you're
You're
covered for.
pointing on it.
Exactly. So what happens is when you improve it, well then, okay, now we'll put a special form, which means it's covered unless it's specifically excluded. So we can really improve causes that it would be covered for, as well as work on the pricing as well. So it really does help to keep us as informed as possible.
I've got a question.
Sure.
Is our policy for individual buildings or a blanket policy that covers all of our inventory?
We have what would be a blanket, but in the respect that each policy, each dwelling has its own limit. It's
Uh-huh.
not on the traditional blanket where they all come up to $10 million. So we have $10 million in any situation. They're all individually,
Okay.
they're all on the same policy.
Mhm.
They all have the same coverage and things like that, but their limits are on their own. I haven't reviewed I don't have access to the Lee and Mason policy at this point. If we warrant your go ahead with us, then we'll absolutely review that and I can give you feedback on the
Okay.
coverage aspect of
I
it.
have one follow-up to that.
Sure.
When we sell something and it's removed from the policy, it goes to the new owner, does that affect our,
Premium.
yeah,
Well, the premium associated with that individual policy would come off of your
but
overall.
does that mean we're
coverage.
paying less each month or whatever?
Mhm.
Okay.
Each property has its own premium per se that totals up.
Yes.
So yes, and everything comes off as they come off our balance sheet.
Yes. Conversely, if you add properties, then it would be.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anything else before we wrap it up?
Thank you.
I think you guys are excused.
Thank you.
Happy Friday. Thank you.
Thank
We
you very
spoke
much.
on the phone last.
Yes, we did.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, very nice to meet you in person.
I'm glad you got a chance to do this.
I do too.
No, maybe I don't.
Regardless of
There you go. You got it, okay.
need
Okay,
or any questions.
great, thank you.
Getting, you know, a lot, but is it beautiful?
Oh, yeah, the ride's right. Yeah. The ride is right. It's a lot more mountains than I thought. Tunnel of the mountains. Then you're on the beach.
How do you, oh, that's
Yeah,
nice.
rope
How do you
maps.
feel coming back?
It's good. It's a lot.
I can tell you how he feels. He thinks American coffee is terrible.
Oh, it is.
Because it is.
Because when you come back from Italy, you're like, what is this
Yeah.
swill I have been drinking?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hi,
Yeah.
everyone.
Good
Hello.
Good morning.
Nicole Green and my partner Michelle Marinello.
Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks very much.
We said we did not intend.
Everybody, everybody at WOH does white tops and black bottoms.
How many miles did you drive that time? I think she said it was like 1250.
What? Join you?
Yeah, yes.
Great, thank you.
So you're gonna say 300 or 400?
No.
Yeah.
1,200.
Okay. Nicole?
Hi.
you got some more?
Morning.
Good
Good
morning.
morning. So thanks for having us in today. It's nice to meet you all in person. We're excited to be working with you. I don't know if there's anything in particular, Jamie, Brad, that you want us to cover, but we thought it'd be great to say hello to everybody in person and kind of get a sense of the types of legal needs that you'll have. I mean, obviously, we work very, very closely with the Albany County Land Bank. And, you know, generally, Michelle and I are both corporate attorneys. We are partners in the corporate practice group at Whiteman, Osterman, and Hannah. We work with lots of not-for-profits, for-profits, say land banks in the not-for-profit zone. We have our colleagues, Dan Hubble and Brian Lawler, who do the real estate aspect of what we do, and we really work together as a team. So Michelle and I often serve as the points of contact when issues come up. All sorts of issues, whether it's litigation, governance. We were going through your website and just kind of had our assistant put together a policy book in terms of like what you guys currently have. And when we started working with the land bank, Albany County Land Bank 4 or 5 years ago now, one of the first things we did with them was to sit down and say like, okay, from a governance perspective, let's look at your policies. Where do you guys feel like, you want us to prioritize? Bylaws for them was a big thing. And some other, policies that they wanted to prioritize. So we really sat down, took a look at what types of issues they were experiencing and needs they had from a legal perspective, and got off to the races that way. And then stuff just kept, as it would flow in. So I don't know if that is kind of the approach that you want to take, or if you've already got some very specific things you'd like us to focus on, but we're open to hear how you'd like to approach the relationship.
Did you have a chance? She has the blue book.
Well, so this is a great story in general. We have a blue book, which is similar to your black book. And originally I thought that the blue book was like a physical only document, but it turns out all those policies are just on our website, like sort of
Okay.
buried. It's not
Gotcha.
very clear.
Okay.
I don't know if you encountered that too. It's not like these are, we have 7 sections to our book and these are the 7 sections. So I assume it's okay. Jamie, it's okay if he sits in if he wants to. I think so, right?
I'm 910.
Yeah.
It's not group.
Yeah, this is just our attorneys. We're just meeting them for the first time, so.
Have a seat.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So all those policies that were in the blue book that were provided were on our website. And when we do our parish report, we have to link to those policies on the website. So it's good to make sure that they're compliant. And obviously if it's not on there, they're not gonna like our parish report, so.
So were you able to go through the blue book on the website?
I mean, we went to the website. We didn't go through, I don't know, my assistant's got at least 15, 18 different policies here.
Yeah.
We didn't want to start going through in any sort of detail. I mean, we certainly noticed there's something on there that says LB bylaws 1, and then there's another that's a separate set of bylaws so there's like 2 sets of bylaws on there. Well, it looks like one is more recent than the other, but we'll probably want to take a
Update.
first crack at the bylaws. That's going to be priority. At least it's typically priority number 1, and we'll get the old one out of there. And then maybe look to see, it looks like there may be some duplicity between the policies,
Yeah.
a couple of them anyways.
My opinion is the first things I would like you guys to address is you've already touched on bylaws, policies, procedures. Get those up to date, get us within regs, get us playing by the rules. And then as we get those things in order and we have a clear path on how to move forward, fine tune some of the other things
Yeah,
necessary to go in line with our new bylaws, our new policy procedures.
exactly.
Right?
Yeah, and part of that, especially when we look at the bylaws, we take a look at, not just from a legal perspective, like, is it compliant or not? But what are you guys actually doing from an operational perspective, right? Like, so do we have committees referenced in there that we don't use? Are there committee procedures referenced in there that are just outdated and not actually how you're operating within your committees? Those types of things. So we'll probably flag in the bylaws some things for you to think about, but certainly if you know of something that's either not consistent or not working well, let us know. That's always helpful to hear.
I would like, this is, Land Bank is what, 14 years old, roughly?
Maybe, yeah.
Okay. It's probably outdated, right? The way we are conducting business now is probably a little bit different than its inception, right? Just due to its times.
Yep.
if you guys, after reviewing bylaws, policy procedure, work closely with Brad to have him advise you guys what we are currently doing.
Yep.
Like how we are carrying on daily business.
Yep.
What him and Paul do,
Mhm.
what responsibilities should be theirs, what responsibilities or what things they are permitted to do, you know,
Mhm.
by law.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then, you know, what is the board's role?
Right,
What, how do we empower Brad to follow that?
right,
Just
right.
to touch on a couple things. For instance, you know, our acquisition disposition committee is discussing just when we have a disposition, currently our process says that we just take $500 down, but it is common in our land bank to take 5% contract deposit down. And so it's very simple, easy, little low hanging fruit is we're inconsistent, obviously, with just the process for, I mean, I took over in May and my first question was, what is the process to acquisition disposition?
Mhm.
And that's, we're ironing that out. We've had multiple conversations in committee about that to bring to the full board, but you know, I made a flow chart that sort of describes what documents, because different purchases are different.
Yep.
Some are finished products, some are vacant, but we expect to enforce and have a mortgage enforcement with it. And we are already working with Dan about the enforcement to the rent restrictions. So he's creating a great document the way we discussed it, something that will have a little teeth so you can actually do something with your
Yeah.
your enforcement policy.
Yep.
And so things like that are, I think, necessary to bring up to date. So that
Some of
way
the
it's clear,
priorities.
you
Yeah.
know, and then we can get those reflected on the website. So somebody that's a sort of going to buy a property from the land bank knows the steps that they need to take. From a customer perspective, it's just like providing service to them. so
Yeah,
they
that
can clearly,
transparency in the
Yeah,
process. That's something we're familiar with some of the other
Mhm.
roles that we've played. So happy to help you there. Other things that come to mind that we've helped with policies in terms of being on premises and some of the liabilities that are associated with that in
Mhm.
terms of like showing properties, but also having, you know,
Signage, posted signage for, you know, this is a, you know, TCLB property. Some of that was in the past has been working with the city too, if the city does any monitoring at the properties
Mhm.
to have, you know, just kind of, you know, postings to say like, this isn't really an abandoned building, someone
Mhm.
owns it, you know, but beware if you enter the property, because that has been a problem with some of the other land banks
Mhm.
we've worked with, was just kind of.
So
People not
you're saying
knowing.
they should be posted?
Yeah, so a lot of times, we kind of came up with like a small sign that from
Placard,
a
yeah.
placard you could
Mm.
post on the door that says, you know, do not enter, or, you know, enter at your own risk.
Yeah.
And then as Nicole was mentioning, we came up with kind of a waiver for certain of the more rundown properties
Mhm.
where, you know, there may be known hazards in the property, I think.
So does that protect us from liability? Because I mean, 9
Yeah.
out of 10 of these are vacant buildings that have been sat vacant for
Yeah.
years and they were
Yeah,
places where
Right.
homeless or
Right.
anybody used
exactly.
shelter.
Yeah,
So if they're placard front and back, then
it,
basically we're protected.
well,
It
we'll
helps.
share with you the memo. It's not as cut and dry as that.
We're done.
I wish it were that easy. But we'll share with you, you know, a version of the material that we prepared on this to show you how you can best protect
We're
yourself.
more protected.
You're more
You're more
protected for sure.
and then also just like showing procedures, like, you know, don't show up in flip flops. Like, this is a property where you may encounter these things. Just
Mhm.
kind of, you know,
As long as we tell people how they should normally act, then we're a little bit better.
Mhm.
Correct?
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
it's that, but also internally with staff. And I realize your staff, we have a smaller
We have
staff,
staff.
right? We're
Oh, no, yeah.
looking at them here. It's, you know, it's important to just, you know, have the right mindset in terms of, okay, we don't want you guys going in if there's a, you know, an unstable floor that
Mhm.
could, you know, collapse. And so
Mhm.
there's just, you know, having those procedures in place even internally are helpful.
Yeah, and just to give you a little background in TCLB versus say Albany County is we do not get every in-rent foreclosure from the city.
Yep.
Mhm.
And we've been this winter been embarking on a project to sort of get all of our buildings safe
Mhm.
and, subfloors fixed and roofs fixed and foundations replaced to where the red X's that are on the buildings can come off because they're safe enough for firefighters,
Mhm.
which will in turn make it safer for Paul and I if we do enter or showings. So that's been our mission this winter, is to sort of stabilize and fix. We have some bigger ideas for the year coming up, but that's what we're doing right now. We're executing those contracts currently.
Good to know.
And so when we do an acquisition, I think that'll be probably the board's strategy at that point, is to figure out what it takes to make it safe and stable,
Right,
and that at the bare minimum, provide the service to the community.
right. Good. So it sounds like priorities will work very closely with you to identify, some of the top policies we're going to look at right off the bat.
Mhm.
Certainly the bylaws, acquisition, disposition. There will be, we'd like to take a look at the conflict of interest policy and just
Mhm.
make sure that's in order and compliant with law. I realize that's probably not one you use as often as the others. And then, a small handful, I think we'll get through them in tranches. That's
Yeah.
how we've done it in the past, is like, these are top priority because we use them all the time. Second tier and third tier, let's get to them over the next few months type thing. Other thoughts in terms of needs, other thoughts or needs that you want to raise at this point?
I'm just happy that you came and
Yeah.
got to meet you.
Yeah,
Suzanne
nice
was
to meet you.
really excited to meet you, and Suzanne's our vice chair. And so,
We're looking forward to working
Yeah.
with you guys. Thanks so much for having us.
One of you will be the representative coming to the monthly meetings?
Yes.
Okay.
That's how we do it with Albany too.
Okay.
It's either Michelle or I.
Okay.
If there's a really off month where for whatever reason we are both out
Try
of
not to be
town,
out of town at the same time.
we have some folks that routinely, there's two of them that do the Albany ones for us if we're not there.
How long have you guys represented the Albany Land Bank?
It's 4 or 5 years now.
5 years.
I think it was
2020.
2020.
2020, yeah.
So this is our fifth, going on our fifth year.
And then Dan does a lot of work with some of the land banks downstate as well.
Yeah, Dan lives
Columbia County.
he's up in our Albany office, but he lives down there and has.
I
a lot
think
of-
Columbia County is represented by somebody who used to be in the planning office and part of the Troy Land Bank, Chris Brown.
Okay,
I think he's running the Columbia County Land Bank.
okay,
So he was from Troy.
Yes.
very good. Yes, I know Dan Hubble wanted to be here today, but he was up in St. Lawrence County yesterday on business, so he wasn't able to come today. But you've already been working closely
Yep.
with him, and you'll see a bit of him too.
Yeah, it's good.
Anything else?
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks very much.
Looking forward to
Pleasure to
working
meet
with
you
you.
both.
Likewise, thanks.
Appreciate your patience as well.
Oh, gosh.
You're up.
Next, next, what the barber says.
Who's next?
I'm Zach Flusser with the Tenai Group in Albany.
Zach,
Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you guys. Thank you for your time, everybody. I appreciate it. How do you want to get started? Let me give you guys a little background about myself and our agency, and then kind of let you guys open up for questions, or what's been kind of the steps, procedures.
Yeah, I think that, I think just to be at least, transparent, I think this narrative with land banks typically is that insurance is hard for the coverage part of it because there's only so many carriers. And so really, I think the most interesting thing to our land bank is going to be the service component. And of course, we'd like to hear about the firm and its representation, because obviously you're the incumbent. You guys are currently holding our policies. So it'd be nice to hear about that too.
Yeah. Definitely be happy to. I appreciate everybody's time again. Zach Fluster. I've been with the Tenai Insurance Group for 13 years. Right out of college, worked for a small agency over in Grand Island for my first year in the industry. Then I got recruited over to the Tenai Group. The agency itself's been around since 1905. So we're celebrating our 120th anniversary this year, which is a pretty remarkable accomplishment. Especially in the insurance world, in the last 5 or 10 years, been a lot of mergers and acquisitions. So a lot of other agencies have been bought up by conglomerates, Fortune 500 companies, or by banks. We are independently owned. The owner of the agency's office is right next to mine. That just instills what our loyal commitment is to the community. We're based in Albany on Western Avenue. We work closely with a lot of not-for-profits, social services, in the area, as well as we have a lot in the Troy community as well. I myself have kind of found my way into that little sector of my little niche area, as well as development, commercial developments, and also another main focus of the agency. So that kind of goes hand in hand with what your accomplishments here are, both, construction, real estate development, also a non-for-profit social services that's doing good for your community. I myself, born and raised in Albany, went to Guilderland High School, graduated in 2007. My wife is born and raised in Troy. Her and I lived in Troy for a few years, grew up on Hawthorne Ave, she did. So I have a lot of ties to the Troy community too, which, I know everybody has a interest in what their insureds and clients do, but I have a little more of a vested interest in what you guys do, because I do really love downtown Troy and the whole Troy area. So I do want to see you guys be successful and really make an improvement and change in the area. The agency, our main goal is customer service. At the end of the day, you're buying a piece of paper, and on that paper promises if something happens, a claim, a lawsuit, that we're going to be there to back you. You have no idea if that's what's going to happen until you have a claim. We want to service you. We're going to be the forefront of your policy. We're going to be communicative with you, explain what's going on in the insurance marketplace, which it's a crazy time right now. I'm sure everybody's, the news of what's going on in California and Florida. The insurance world it's interesting right now with what's going on. So we're very communicative with our clients. You call our office, we have a live person answer the phone. It's not a machine that answers it. We don't outsource anything overseas. Everything is done and processed in our office in Albany, New York. That's kind of the difference of being an independently owned shop, where we're here in the community. We're not back sourcing everything overseas or outside of the area. The agency employs 32 people. Out of the 32 people, about 25 of them are service driven, where their job is customer service. They're in the office, answering the phone, answering questions, which is great. We have in-house claims manager. So God forbid you guys do have a claim. It's not going to be you reporting the claim to the insurance company or making sure that the claim is going fair and in a timely manner and processed the right way. Perfect world, a claim happens, it goes smoothly. The adjuster is being communicated with you guys and upfront and showing you everything, and it goes quickly and smoothly. But we know reality, there's always hiccups along the way. We're there to make sure that everything's going smoothly. Between Janice, who's our claims manager, and myself, we're going to hold your hand through the process, make sure everything's going in a good, timely manner, as everybody hopes it does with an insurance claim. As well as, customer service rep, Lisa Pizmento, who's been with the agency for 30 plus years. She's the in-house rep that's assigned to your account currently. She has vast knowledge. She works on she's a large account manager, so she works on larger accounts, more complicated. She's got that experience to do that. She's very responsive, very upfront with our clients as well. She works very closely with me with the day-to-day service of your guys' account and all of our clients' accounts. There'll also be a customer service representative that handles more of the certificates, ID cards. You guys don't have any vehicles, so that doesn't matter to you guys, obviously, but certificates, you guys need a certificate, you guys a binder. We have representatives that are assigned to do that in-house, so we can, our goals, certificate of insurance should be in and out within a 2 to 3 hour period. Because I know how timely that is for our clients to either secure a job, to get onto a job site for any reason. The agency, like I said, the customer service is the main focus. We are going to be very responsive. If I tell clients, if I'm not responsive within 24 hours to an email, call me. There's a chance I didn't get that email, because that's what our usually turnaround time is to get them back to clients. Bradley, you kind of referenced the marketplace for a land bank is a little more complicated than a standard, real estate account or not-for-profit account. You guys have a lot of moving parts. Obviously the vacant buildings is always a big cause of concern for insurance companies. The main factor to that is, it's an attractive nuisance, is what insurance companies like to say. Is even though they're boarded up and you're not allowed to enter there, as you guys know, people find their way into these buildings. Something happens in those buildings and somebody's injured in there. Yes, they trespass, and yes, they shouldn't have been in there. But at the end of the day, you're going to be named in a lawsuit, and you're going to have to respond to that. So, it's a complicated market. I feel where we have you guys situated is in a great position. Your guys' account, the land bank, was brought to us 7 years ago by our past president, Charlie Barnes, who's now been retired for some time. And that's when I got assigned your account, was when he retired. My focus kind of matched up with what your guys' account had going on. So it made sense for me to become the agent on it for the Tenite Group. And since that time, I worked closely with past executive directors, there was a little lull there between executive directors, where some of the communication kind of fell off a little bit, or focus with people I had attention. You know, I like to have insureds that are engaged with me, that I can have open conversations, know what you have going on, so I can advise you the right way. You know, I know there's a lot of communication going back and forth, but everybody always almost forgets, oh yeah, the insurance guy needs to know about this going on too. We want to be the trusted advisor for your association. I want to have a seat at your table. You guys are looking at something different than you've done in the past. I want to be there and have that conversation, not after the fact of, oh yeah, by the way, Zach, we're going to try and do this now, or we want to do this with the buildings. I want to be your trusted advisor where we're sitting at the table, having those open conversations, and are engaged with you guys. That's when I find my best clients is there's an engagement level between me and the insured. So I'm hoping to establish that with you guys moving forward, as I've had in the past with prior executive directors and board members. One of the things that we do is the contractual risk. I know your attorneys were just here, so it was good to hear them engaged and keen in on certain issues. In the insurance world, one of the biggest issues is when you're hiring subcontractors. There's New York State Labor Law 240 is a law that is on the books and has been on the books for many years that has severe impact to general contractors and building and property owners. Under New York State Labor Law, you have a subcontractor on your job site, they get injured, a fall from heights, by the way, that New York State fines is 3 inches, so a little step stool, or if an item falls from a height, a hammer falls off a piece of wood, injures a subcontractor, the owner of the property and the general contractor are absolutely liable. That subcontractor could have had 3 beers at lunchtime and came back to the job site, inebriated, fell off a ladder. Now they're going to sue you guys because you didn't provide a safe place to work. No merits to that person's condition during the work, you're absolutely liable. So what we like to do, and I worked closely with Ebert Watson, who was a board member last year, was really digging in and improving your subcontractor agreement. There's clauses that you guys now have in that subcontractor agreement from our assistants that would hold you harmless and indemnify you from an injury happening on the job site. So what happens there? Subcontractor gets hurt, you get named in a lawsuit.
Can I ask, when is the last time that our subcontractor agreements were reviewed by your company?
It was last year.
Last year.
At the renewal time. I worked with Ebert to add a requirement for any subcontractor to carry excess or an umbrella policy. So initially you only had a $1 million current $2 million aggregate requirement from your GCs. And now it's required to have 1 million, 2 million with a 1 million umbrella over top. So you guys did work on that, but always room for improvements with subcontractor agreements. So I love digging in on that. That's kind of where I like to live. I term myself an insurance nerd, geek. I like to read contracts. I like to review subcontractor agreements. I like to read insurance contracts to understand what they mean. So claim situation, subcontractor gets hurt. Your subcontract should be strong enough where if you are named in a lawsuit, you just turn it over to the person that got injured or whoever their employer is. Now they have to defend you and indemnify you. So it's not you're responding to the claim. Obviously, perfect world, there's going to be hiccups and your insurance company is going to have to be the one that goes to court to show this. So that's why we have coverage in place to protect you guys in that sense.
Yeah, that was fast.
Sorry, I
You
talk
take breath.
fast. I
So
apologize.
Paul, going back to like what we were talking about earlier, when we hire a roofer or contractor for foundations,
Yes.
are we having them look over their
We
insurance?
have not been, but we do demand the 2 million, 1 million.
Good.
It's in our contract.
And
And yes, whoever the insurance company or broker that gets our business, yes, we'd love to have them re-review
Right.
Yeah, per
exactly what we
contract,
have.
right?
yeah, so what I do a lot for my clients that are in the development world is when you get that certificate from the roofer, send me a copy of the certificate and the contract they signed. I'm going to make sure it matches up. A lot of times, our clients get certificates and they just look at it. Oh, no, they have insurance. It's fine. Well, was Troy Community Land Bank listed as additional insured?
Yeah.
Was a waiver of subrogation box checked on a certificate? Was an additional insured section checked? So it's very important that when you guys get those certificates, forward them on to me, my staff. What we do a lot is if I know what your requirements are for a certain job or project is between myself, Lisa, and Anne Marie, who's our client rep who does certificates, we will have a sample certificate and for you guys what it should look like. Then you send me a certificate for XYZ roofing company. We look at it lined up. Does it have all the boxes checked? Does it have the wording on the bottom? Yes, approved. Or no, it's missing this little box check. They have to go back to their agent and have it updated. So we do that often for clients. obviously happy to do that for you guys as well. And we found that it could get to a point where it gets nuances where you're like, Zach, we just need this roofer on this job today. Well, we're understand that you guys have a association to run. At the same time, we want to make sure it's protected. And yes, while you do need to get that roof fixed today, do you want to take a chance that this roofer doesn't have the right insurance and a claim could occur? Might take a little bit because now they're gonna have to go back to their insurance company, get it fixed. They might not have the right insurance either. There's a lot of insurance companies out there that exclude labor law coverage from policies. And nobody would recognize that except for a seasoned insurance professional that knows the carriers that have those. And I might say, hey, Paul, go back to that roofing company and ask for a copy of their forms and endorsements. Let's see what's on that policy.
I don't do that.
I would do that.
You would.
And they might say, exclude the New York State labor law. And we're going to say, hey, this roofer might have been the lowest bidder. They don't have the right insurance in place. So then it's a business decision on your guys' end. Do you want to take a chance with that? That's what I always tell clients is I'm just advising. I'm not making the decision for you and your team. That's a business decision on your part. I'm just going to advise you best practices that I see in the insurance world, what I'm advising my clients every day, what I'm seeing from court cases that are happening and how they're responding. So that's kind of what my view is.
Are we charged for you to review such
Not at all.
contract?
No,
Okay.
not at all. Part of our services that we offer. As a insurance agent, we're not able to charge consultant fees on any policy or account that we're paid commission on. So we are paid commission by the insurance companies directly. So there's no fee to you guys for any services or anything that we do.
To that, let's say there's an accident. You're our client, but you're also a client of the insurance company. You personally, your company's, you're working for the insurance company, even though you're working. Here's my question. So an adjuster comes out and says, we're going to give you a zing. My personal experience with homeowners is like, you guys are trying to give me the least amount and I got to go hire my own private adjuster. What say you to that?
That people that hire public adjusters is when a claim is going sideways and their agent isn't involved at the time of the claim. We are going to be there step by step to make sure that it's adjusted fairly. And if you disagree with an amount that the adjuster is going to propose, we're going to go back to the insurance company and work with their adjustment team and their claims department and management of those teams to make sure that's adjusted properly. And, we have no problem running cost estimators to prove what your point is of, hey, no, we should be getting this amount, going out to get other estimates from just what the adjuster's showing. Because there's ways to combat that. If adjuster says, roof's only 10 grand, you have your contract saying, no, it's going to be 30 grand.
Exactly.
Then let's find 2 or 3 other roofers out there that we could make that case and that proof. And we can go to management levels of insurance companies to make that argument. It's never an open shut door with a claim. It's always, we have to, obviously there's got to be proof of a claim and of what occurred and caused damage. And then how do we get to the right dollar amount? Is we're going to fight on your behalf to make sure that you're happy with that amount. And
So you'll fight that battle.
Correct. We do that for you. Yeah. Whenever a public adjuster is hired in a claim situation, it takes the agent out of it. The agent can no longer represent you to the insurance company because you now have a direct contract with the public adjuster. So that's always our bit to our clients is, if you feel that we're not going to fight on your behalf and represent you, then a public adjuster is probably in your best interest. But you're with us for a reason, and we have proven ourselves before the clients, and that's what we do. So that's kind of when a claim does. But claims go sideways sometimes, unfortunately.
Anything else?
Have we had any significant claims in your time?
No.
Working with us?
No.
I don't think so.
There was a builder's risk claim a few years ago, which was placed with another agent at that time, which I wasn't aware of who that agent was.
Teresa Lancaster, I think.
Okay. Yeah, it was during Tony's time.
Yeah, she still covers 791 River Street with builder's risk. That's the only policy she has.
Oh, that was, we talked about that being a separate.
Yeah, I don't
I don't know why either.
Situation.
Tony wasn't really sure either at the time why
Yeah,
it's that way.
yeah.
Yeah.
And obviously the insurance that we get from you guys is to the tune of, I think, about 40,000 a year. So that falls outside our procurement policy, but the builder's risk is only 1,500 per year. So
Yeah.
the executive
builder's risk was
director can procure that
Okay.
insurance.
That makes sense.
But over 10,000, we have to make sure we do an RFP format like this to be in
I got it.
compliance. Yeah.
That makes sense. Understood. That makes sense.
And Zach, how long have you been you personally been representing Lynn?
It's
Us?
been 6 or 7 years I had. Yeah.
Zach, do you know who our carrier is?
Yeah, so for the property and liability for the properties that you guys acquire, it's with Great American through Lee and Mason program.
Okay.
That's a open reporting period. So you guys, that's kind of the downside is you guys have to report the properties that you acquire and scheduled on their policies. And when you sell off, get rid of a property, you have to tell them to delete it. So you do lose a little bit of our involvement on that piece, which is
Yeah.
that's their program. You guys have been with that Lee Mason Great American program for a while before our agency took it over. Our agency took it by broker of record. I want to say maybe 7 years ago.
Okay, so you guys didn't shop it out for that?
We have looked at other options. I want to say 3 or 4 years ago, we did look at other options. And this program is
The best for us?
that's the program
Mhm.
for land banks with the open reporting period. Because what that is when I looked at other carriers, direct carriers that we have appointments with, Great American themselves directly, and outside of Lee Mason is they don't have an appetite for the large big risk.
How is your relationship per se with Lee Mason?
Good. We work closely with them. We have a lot of communication with them. They're very communicative with us. They're responsive.
Do you have
Okay.
other business with them, or are we your?
I don't know off the top of my head any direct business with Lee Mason that are involved with this because they are special for this.
For land bank?
Yeah.
Land-
I do represent other land. I have a land trust that I have, but that's through a direct care because those are occupied buildings in Albany area.
Okay.
That through the Albany Community Land Trust I work with, and since those are occupied buildings, it's a different program. But they were with Great American and moved into a different company. But I tend every 2 or 3 years want to look at other options. I think that's the right time. But an insurance company sees your file every year that you're going out for quotes. The underwriters kind of get fatigued. Is this a real opportunity? I get this every year, Zach. Why are you shopping? What's the point?
Sure.
Where if it's every 3 years, it's, hey, yeah, real opportunity here. The price rates are going up. They want to see something else. Then I think you get a better attention from an underwriter
Mhm.
than if you do it every year. So that's kind of our approach on that piece of it.
So when you did shop it, a few years ago, or I missed,
Yeah.
whenever you,
Yeah, yeah, 3
whenever
years
you
ago, sorry.
shopped it, your opinion is, or what you found was Lee and Mason is basically the only game in town that suits us.
Yeah, they were the best option. Yeah, yep. And then we have other policies, more premium driven ones, which the general liability policy to cover the hiring of subcontractors. The Lee and Mason policy doesn't want to pick up any construction exposure. So what we have to do is we get a policy. Correct. It's not admitted space. So what that means is, bless you.
Bless you.
The forms are unregulated by New York State, and they don't have to file rates with New York State. They're the ones that insure GCs and people that are hiring subs. So that's policy that we have. Then we have an excess liability policy over that too, and that's where that requirement of the umbrella, God bless you, with the subcontractors came from. So that covers you. You're hiring subs that get injured on your job site. That policy can respond, not the Lee and Mason.
Okay.
So we have a couple safe stopgaps.
Anything else?
Good.
I think you're free to go.
Thank you.
Thank you everybody for your time.
Thanks
I
for being
appreciate it.
Thanks.
Take care.
Have a great day.
Thank you.
Have a great weekend.
Thanks. Thank you.
We do not have any old or new business, correct?
I mean, anything anybody wants to talk about.
Right,
we can,
but
there's
nothing-
this is strictly just
Just
for
for
the
this
insurance
resolution,
broker,
okay.
because I know that March we need to start. When we hire somebody, I wrote both resolutions. The board can suggest
Yep.
which one they like or discuss ahead of time, I guess. But I didn't put anything else on there because I didn't want to muddy up this meeting.
Okay, I would like to make a motion to award the insurance RFP to Upstate Agency, and I'll explain why. If Lee and Mason is the only carrier that
Mhm.
plays in this realm, and Saratoga National, Aero Bank has a close relationship with them. I think that would be our best. If they already have existing business with them, they are one of their carriers. I feel more comfortable with a stronger relationship, especially when it comes to insurance. Lee, ironically, I've worked with Lee before in the insurance industry. She is extremely responsible. We didn't catch on until the end of the meeting that we were who we were. And I like the fact that the gentleman has been hungry enough to reach out,
So
so.
you're making a motion.
Motion
If
to-
somebody seconds, then we can have discussion.
Yeah,
I'll second it.
Okay, and then, so now we can open up discussion.
So I mean, I feel like they're offering the same thing.
Right.
One was like the Roadrunner. and-
Well, you know what, I want to ask this question to the board that's been here, Brian, Jamie, Suzanne, and Andrew. Have you guys met Zach before?
No,
Nope.
I look back at my emails and I only got an email from him first time January 17th of this year.
asking what was the,
Well, it had to do,
with
you
the
know,
RFP,
well, it had to do with, I reached out to him
okay,
because he responded to the RFP.
correct,
So I just looked at my email, I typed in the name Zachary
and that's about it.
otherwise I have talked with Lisa in their office. And so the service he's talking about with you guys, did it reflect what we saw? And that you picked up on that with the contract part of it, is that when Paul and I were, I don't know, say, trying to recreate the wheel with these projects,
Yeah.
we've been putting projects, we're in the newspaper front page. And our insurance agent has not said, hey, did you make sure they got right coverage?
Good catch.
I'm just,
Right, he
I
wasn't,
don't-
he wasn't proactive.
we didn't know that we're supposed to ask them. I do say this, when we demolished Seven Park, we took it from a structure to a vacant plot of land. And then, Zach too, I have nothing against him. I just met him for the first time. I've met Chris 3 times because he keeps popping in the office to say hi. But,
That says something.
But,
Sales 101.
with, Seven Park, we demolished it in August of 2023, I think, right?
Great, not to interrupt, who demolished it? We did or?
Land Bank did.
Okay, so our contract.
We were paying until last October, 3 months ago, as if there was a structure there. And then the discussions that were just had is that he met with Elbert, if you caught the name, he called him Ebert. He met with Elbert and nobody went over the policy to say there's not a structure there anymore. Did you do anything?
Yeah.
Did you demolish anything? So these are things that instinctually I saw with Tenike that I was hoping. But you also have to allow grace too. The grace part of that is without any strong leadership, they're just and that's probably part of the land bank's, issue
You
right
mean
now is,
communication.
right, it's a two-way
lack
street.
of.
Even the auditors, they needed somebody to communicate the audit to them. And and the bookkeeper, the guy in New Jersey that we were paying $1,000 a month to, who didn't do anything for 6 months, nobody was uploading the documents necessary for him to do it remotely. And most of these people wanted update your, to hook up your bank account or put your statement into Google Drive so that they can reference them. So there's the grace component, which is they've been with us for 7 years. And if there's nobody really prodding them and, to do anything, then, there's that. But we took over May, June, and I haven't had anybody say, hey, let's get on board with each other.
Well,
So,
the first thing that popped out to me was he said that he's been in charge of the account for 7 years. And correct me if I'm wrong, didn't the other gentleman say that he's who onboarded us?
he might be talking about Tenike and he might have misinterpreted. He might have just been assigned when Albert was running as treasurer, but Suzanne was acting chair. So she should probably have gotten a phone call too.
I've never heard from
Yeah.
anybody.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm sort of with you. I was thinking that as you were starting out, with like,
Well-
well, we haven't heard from him. I'm like, well, he hasn't heard from us probably,
You know,
but
If I'm
he's the
the,
one getting paid.
if I'm the incumbent, if I may, if I'm the incumbent, and I know that last May, my account hired a brand new executive director.
To reach out.
Yeah.
He's never reached out to you
Right. When I
up
put in my,
until the RFP comes out.
right.
So meaning there's no carrot. So why bother?
Right.
I don't, that's not customer service to me. So, and I'm not knocking him. I don't know his practice. I don't know much about the Tenike Group or the other upstate. But when I see that, if that's the way you treat the account, forget about us or personalities or whatever. It's the account. I mean,
Well, and the first group, I think they're hungry. I think they want us. you kind of, just the idea that when we get contracts in, that they're willing to go look over, he was also,
Oh, sure.
But
but,
that's their job.
Well, of course it
right?
is.
You know?
yeah,
Only if we provide it.
But
or
we-
reach
what I
out.
mean-
We have, yeah,
Provide.
correct. The land
Yeah,
bank
right.
has to, we have to
Right.
assume some.
we've been sloppy in our own communication
Yep.
as well. But as a salesperson, you do have to come knocking on the door at least once a year and
Say
just
hi.
say, hello,
Yeah.
I'm still here if you
What's
need
in the
me.
works? What, you should be thinking ahead, like, oh, what's happening this year? Do you have a
Exactly.
plan? What do I
Sure.
need to know
I
about?
mean, look at the number of projects we're taking on in 2025.
Right.
We're probably gonna hit 15 projects.
Mhm.
I'm guessing something like that.
Yeah,
right?
that's if it's 11 or 13 with the facade program.
Facade program, right?
And then it's another 4 where, I see the 4 that we have banked. I don't know if we'll have the funding for all 4. But if we can completely develop them, I think we're gonna need a builder's risk policy, and we're also gonna need an agent that's ready to pay attention to the
Right.
13 projects to make sure they don't get paid, to make sure that we're indemnified. I think it was Monica that brought it up at the last meeting last week. We need to be indemnified to make sure that we don't take on risk doing the facade program. So we're gonna need somebody that's active.
So it sounds like we're all on the same page. If there's nothing else, I'd like to call a vote.
Well, I just want to say that Chris reached out to me when I was acting chair,
Mhm.
and he called me twice. So he's hungry.
This is the one on the
and
table.
I thought he was very personable and really cared.
And I'd like to add, when we vote them in, that we all make it our mission, like even at our meetings, to make sure that we are continuing
Bring them in.
because we're starting a new chapter here.
Mhm.
And I think if we start even if we come in as the needy child, they're gonna go, okay, this is my needy child place,
And maybe
and
we're
then,
the needy child for 6 to 8 months
Right.
until we're no longer
So
that
what?
needy, and that's fine.
right,
That's fine.
but be the needy child.
Well, I mean, anytime, I would just think anytime there's a new project starting, part of the process should be,
Sure.
share
Yeah,
that
let 'em know.
information with the broker and say, what's the impact here? Let's
Mhm.
know.
So minimally, when we do award a project, send them the copy of the insurance
Yeah.
and have them review it.
And the contracts.
And then that way, if there are questions or something that needs to be added to one's policy, that can be addressed
Totally,
before the award.
totally
How's it
off
been
that topic,
Yeah.
but I think my sense was, I believe our new attorneys are gonna be holding us accountable to send insurance paperwork over to insurance.
Good.
If we keep our
Good.
attorney involved, the attorney is going to say, let's make sure we get this to our broker. That's just my take from it. So.
They'll
I
be our
don't-
mother hen.
So,
also-
all in favor of awarding,
Suzanne, did you go over there?
oh.
No, I was just gonna say, the more we send things around to both the attorney and the agent, the closer we get and the better that is for the
Yeah,
organization.
the tighter we are,
Yeah,
ship in the holes.
We get
it's a
there.
good
You
thing.
can do a slow roll if you want, or you can do the all. Either one.
I think, all in favor of awarding the insurance RFP to Upstate Agency.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstained? Motion passes. Upstate Agency is awarded our insurance package. Is there anything else, old or new or other, that anyone would like to discuss before the next meeting? If not, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
None opposed? Nobody abstained. Meeting is adjourned.